Hello once again and welcome to Euroman Movie Report. This week I have watched the film Snow White and the Huntsman, a reinterpretation of the old Brothers Grimm fairy tale from 1812. This film is nothing like any other interpretation of that fairy tale I have ever seen. This film is like if you have the original fairy tale and have slapped Lord of the Rings and Tolkien on top of it. And of course there is the little thing called Kristen Stewart, which I'm going to return to later. But basically Snow White and the Huntsman follows the fairy tale in the beginning of the film, where we have the queen in this magical kingdom, and she stings herself on a rose she sees in her garden during winter, and 3 drops of blood falls onto the snow, and some time after she gives birth to this little girl and names her Snow White because she has red lips and is the fairest of them all. And then the queen dies, and we have the king mad with grief, and then this phantom army appears and the king goes into battle, and this is here where the Lord of the Rings stuff starts, because I don't seem to remember anything about a phantom army in the original Snow White. And then this phantom army has as their captive this young thing played by Charlize Theron. And Charlize Theron, who then becomes the evil queen, she is the best actor in the movie, and I'll return to that later. And then of course she marries Snow White's father, and she murders him on their wedding night and imprisons Snow White in a tower in the castle of where she had previously lived with her mother and father. And then time passes, and this little princess grows into the terrible actress known as Kristen Stewart. And Kristen Stewart, I don't know why they chose to make her famous, because she simply can't act. And the one thing, I have never watched, thankfully, any of these terrible films known as Twilight, but I don't understand why in every scene that Kristen Stewart is in, she has to bare her teeth like her front teeth like this in every scene. It's terrible to look at, and when she has to seem distressed or anything, she has this empty, cold facial expression. Looks like where she looks like someone has turned off the light up here. So it's something like this. And basically then Snow White, she escapes the evil queen, which of course is played by Charlize Theron, and into the magical forest. And the magical forest, I don't know why, but the director has sneaked in almost something which can be characterized as Japanese hentai tentacle porn, where these 3 things, they grab Snow White / Kristen Stewart, and and that's a bit creepy in my opinion, having tentacle porn in a Snow White film. And then of course we have Chris Hemsworth, who plays the Huntsman, and he wields an axe like he wields the hammer in Thor and the Avengers, and he is sent after Snow White to bring her back to the queen, because I'm not going to divulge it here. The queen wants something from Snow White. And Chris Hemsworth, he does an okay job. It isn't a great role, because he seems badly directed. But there's one scene in the film where, and of course you have all seen Snow White before. Snow White has fallen into this magical coma, and the way Chris Hemsworth, he acts and cries, and talks about his character's late wife, etc. It was the best acting I have seen in that scene. I have seen of by Chris Hemsworth in any of the films I have seen him in, and yeah. And then of course we have, as I said, Kristen Stewart, who is a terrible actress, and I don't know why she's famous, because is it because all of these moronic teen girls, they idolize her in some way? I don't know why. And then we have Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron as the evil queen. She does a superb job in my opinion. She seems terrifying and simply one evil bitch in this film. And she, in my opinion, could easily, if George Lucas ever wants to make a sequel to the original Star Wars films, Charlize Theron, I could easily imagine her as a Sith Empress, because she is great at playing evil. Of course, we have seen that before in the film Monster, which came out some years ago. But the film itself, this film here, Snow White and the Huntsman, it was a bit too much in my opinion, because generally the acting, it wasn't that great. I don't know why they chose to cast non-dwarf actors as the seven dwarfs, but I guess they wanted known faces to play the dwarfs, like Toby Jones and Bob Hoskins. So, but Toby Jones, he we have seen him in several roles, like the evil professor in in Captain America, and of course we have Bob Hoskins, who is famous for shitty parts, like his part in Super Mario Brothers, which you guys are probably too young to remember. But anyway. Yeah, the two best things about Snow White and the Huntsman, it was the CGI. The CGI is great, and then of course Charlize Theron. The rest of the film sucked in my opinion. And I have read that the company behind Snow White and the Huntsman have chosen to start work on a sequel, and I don't know why, because I know the film have done well with the Twilight crowd in America and probably here in Europe as well, but it wasn't that great. It's a bit of a shame in my opinion that they chose to slap Lord of the Rings on top of a good story, because they ruined it in my opinion. And of course then there was the tentacle porn, which I found a bit too much in the Snow White film. But if you want to watch a good Snow White interpretation, you should look up the Italian porn version of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And in my opinion, if you disregard the acting by Charlize Theron, the acting in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the porn version is much better than in this one. So if I'm gonna rate this film, I would say, yeah, I was originally gonna give it 2 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles, but I would settle for 3 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles, because the CGI was great, the score was okay, and then of course there was Charlize Theron's acting, which was superb in my opinion. So 3 out of 5 Coca-Cola bottles. Next week I'll return with a review of 21 Jump Street. Until then, thanks for watching and thanks for subscribing, and if you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button below. Until then, Euroman, Euroman's Movie Report signing off, wishing everyone a pleasant weekend.